Thank you for joining Waterbreak. This episode is brought to you by Dusty Rose Tallow. To find out more about them, go to dustyrosetallow.com. Enjoy Waterbreak.
Hey y'all, welcome to Waterbreak on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. It's great to be with you. I'm Waterboy, this is Watergirl, my wife, and we are a faith and fitness show, and thank you for joining us. And make sure you're in a conversation with us by emailing us at RenchMedia@gmail.com. The reason why that's important is because today is a AMA show. Ask Me Anything show.
Yes, it is.
So about once a month we do an AMA show because we get a lot of questions, and so we want to do our best to kind of answer those. We know that's what's interesting to you, so we want to talk about what's interesting to you. We're also going to be in October at the Fight Laugh Feast Conference, October 16th through 18th in Tennessee. We'd love to have you guys show up. Go to fightlaughfeast.com. You'll see that. I'm sure my producer will put the link here at the bottom of your screen, and go check that out. Please share our show, subscribe to YouTube, click on the bell, and all that jazz. And so now, anything maybe?
No.
Okay.
No. Started. We have good questions, you guys. You asked some really good ones. Some of them are new. Some have been sitting in my inbox for a while. Sorry, but we're getting to them.
Yeah.
In one form or another.
So no particular order.
No, go in order.
Yeah, no particular order in terms of like questions. Is there an order that you want? Okay, we're gonna go with the top.
Well, I want to go order.
So this is from Meredith. We should have like their state. Meredith in Colorado.
I don't know that I always know their state. Right.
So Meredith asked us, can you guys talk about what in the world periodization in strength training means? I see it everywhere and I've tried to read about it, but I don't get it. Is the same for men and women? Question mark.
Yeah, good question. Periodization's kind of a classic weightlifting word. Shows up in all the textbooks. You get certified as a trainer. You're going to get entire chapters on periodization. It's actually kind of funny. Like, you know how there's those memes when people are like, I really thought that adulthood would include more of this thing. Like whatever thing that, I don't know, that you do as a kid or you learn as a kid and you just are like, oh, I don't really do this kind of math really as an adult. That's what periodization a little bit is like, a little bit in this world. I'll get to what I mean about it. But basically,
actually, honestly, when I read the question initially, I thought it was talking about women's cycles, and then I saw at the end of the question, she said for men and women.
My period is in. No, I'm not talking about that. We're talking about periodization in strength training.
Yeah.
It just comes up a ton, or it's mentioned a lot in the books, in the forums and stuff. And it's funny. It is helpful to understand what it is. It is a big deal, but also I can't even get people to just strength train. So it's sort of like, don't worry about it
right now.
Also, but let's talk about what it is. Okay, so it's just sort of a broad term for it's a part of exercise programming where you cycle in basically different training objectives or emphases over time, usually in order to maximize results, depending on what you're training for, to avoid plateau, which can be an issue for people who are really consistent, and to avoid injury. Okay, so that's really broadly what it is. If you want to get down to specifics or examples, it can look a lot of different ways. I mean, probably the more serious of an exerciser you are, the more elite level, the more professional you are, the more things like periodization are going to be important. So if you look at like, elite level power lifters, Olympic weightlifters, and you look at like the way that they train, their coaches will look at their training over a year of like train blocks over a year, sometimes even 2-year cycles, especially if you have like the Olympics coming or this big competition coming, and they'll block out their training very, very strategically and specifically. And that will be a really good example of periodization where it's like, okay, we're working just strength here. Okay. And then we're going to work, it's
supposed to have glued this week.
100%. Yes. Only this trap for like 6 weeks. And we're just going to see what happens.
Yeah.
But you get the idea. So for them, for athletes, that high up, periodization is a really big deal because they're trying to be the absolute best of the best. And that stuff matters. And there's a lot of coaches out there that's what they do. That's what they're good at. You could look at even like the way a bodybuilder trains, broadly speaking, they have this off bulking season that's usually long where they're eating and they're trying to build muscle and build muscle and build muscle. And then they'll shift into their cut, which looks a lot different. Calories come down. They can't lift as much. They're trying to cut body fat. So that would be an example of periodization. Obviously, more will go into a bodybuilder's plan than just those two things. But, it's broadly speaking, that's what they're doing. If you look at like runners, if you look at cyclists, they're going to periodize their year of training based off of the off season, the preseason, and the in season, and that what they're doing, strength training wise, mileage wise, speed work wise, should look different depending on where they are in the season. So that is really what periodization is. Not to get too nitty gritty about it. So that to bring it full circle to what I said at the start, it's kind of a big deal, but it's kind of not. It's not really an issue for anybody until they are a very serious athlete or a very consistent lifter, right? So like if you have gotten into lifting and you're really doing great and you're very consistent and you've been doing the same thing for 5 years, it might be time to start considering periodization so as to continue to get gains, whatever your goals are, to avoid that plateau, which is inevitable if you do too much of the same thing, even though it's a good thing over time, and to avoid injury because you've been doing it for so long, right? So it's really only a consistent lifter's issue, really. Another thing I will say is that maintenance is okay also. So, and I don't know, there's some coaches that might disagree with me on that, but like you could use knee for an example here. Like I've been lifting for a long time. There's been seasons of my life where I've been stronger or I've had a goal, a performance goal, or I've been weaker because I've been running more or whatever. And I've sort of just, at this point in my life, I'm just kind of like, I'm fine with my back squat being here. I'm fine with my deadlift just being here. I'm fine with my bench being here. They're fine. I don't really need them to get bigger for me, right? And so I'm just kind of maintaining. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, if you're in a body that you're not happy with, if you're like, I don't like how I look, I have too much body fat, I am not as strong as I would like to be, something like periodization is probably something that you need, right? Like what you're doing is working, or it was working, but it's not working anymore. You need to make changes. And we're talking changes usually in modality, intensity, volume, frequency, things like that. Oftentimes, you do want to work with a coach, someone who knows what they're doing, who understands how to effectively manipulate all of those little variables, But all that to say, if you're like me, you're fine where you're at and you're just maintaining, that's okay too. I don't vary as much. I don't periodize as much at this point in my life because I don't feel like I need it. So it kind of just depends on the person. And once again, I just can't get women to lift in the first place. So periodization feels far away, but there is a place for it. And I think the more specific your training goal is, the longer you've been in it and the more serious you take your sport or whatever it is that you're shooting for, the more periodization done correctly is really helpful. So I don't know.
So this is not like a really a beginner's concern at all.
It's not a
beginner's just get started.
Yeah, it's not.
Maybe like 2 years or something like this.
Exactly.
Take through that.
Exactly. Or if you are that person who's been doing the same thing, and you guys, this could be just your same little routine out on the floor. This could be the same group fitness classes over and over again. We're all kind of high rep, lightweight. They all kind of are the same. This concept might be really valid for you, where your body adapted a long time ago and you need change. It's time to do something different, and again, that could be changing up what kind of lifts you're doing, changing up how heavy you're lifting. That's a big one for a lot of you, changing up your rest periods, changing up your volume, changing up your intensity, less lifting, more cardio, less lift. There's a lot of things that you can do to change, periodized, I guess that's the right word to use. So it really just depends on the person.
Okay. All right. Next question. This is from Ryan. Let's say in California. I don't know.
Don't make it. We don't know, Ryan. Sorry. We don't make it be in California.
Have you done any podcasts on rheumatoid arthritis that you can point me to? My wife is finding it difficult to work out due to the pain during, but especially the price she pays later on. Yeah. What the pain?
Yeah, like
to the pain during out, or similar.
Yeah, like pain during the workouts, but even more so.
Okay.
How she ever, yeah, which is a thing.
How should exercise, particularly strength training, which I know you advocate a lot for, be approached by someone in this situation? So the scenario is someone's got rheumatoid arthritis, and they want to be in shape, want to work out. It's painful during the workout process, but it's more painful afterwards. Okay.
Yeah, Ryan. And I went back and forth a little bit with him, and I told him I am gonna keep an eye out for an actual expert in this area. Autoimmune is so hard, and it's becoming.
Does anybody know an expert in rheumatoid arthritis? We'd love to interview them.
Send them my way. I would love to pick their brain. But I mean, just there's so many different types of autoimmune. They are on the rise. It just seems like everybody has something, and it's really frustrating because it can feel, in a lot of situations, like it's out of your control, and there's some aspects to it that are, and that's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to be like, in his wife's case, like, I really want to be strength training. I understand that that's something that I should be doing, which is true, but every time I do it, I hurt, so I'm sorry. And it's really hard. Like I said, I'm going to try to get somebody on who really this is their thing. But I will give you a few thoughts that I have, and just from my own experience working with people with various different types of arthritis, RA, rheumatoid arthritis being one of them. Okay. Number one, in my experience, the biggest triggers, and again, I know everybody's different. Everybody's case is different. But what I've seen, the biggest triggers for RA are stress, number one. That's a huge one. Underlying infections, obviously, is a big trigger. Poor diet, poor sleep. And then, to your point, Ryan, it can just be overdoing it physically. And that can be in the gym. That can be gardening. That can be moving. It can be, just anything that's really physical that is too much stress to the body. Particular joints, usually people with RA have certain joints that are just a problem and they flare up and it's just really debilitating. So those are, at least in my experience, some of the biggest triggers. So I guess the number one thing that I would say to you, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but I'll just say it because I don't know. And this was super big and helpful for the clients that I worked with in the past dealing with this, is that you got to manage those triggers ahead of time that you can. So things you can control, your diet, stress, and sleep. And I have found that if you can get a body where those things are good, you're checking those boxes, you're eating really clean. A lot of times not always, but a lot of times with things like this, you'll find certain food groups are triggering, like modern American gluten. Sometimes it's dairy, sometimes it's soy, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just like, if I eat really processed, it's worse. If I eat cleaner, it's better. So whatever it is for you, get that diet dialed in. That's, like we talk about on the show all the time, your number one health input is food. You eat 3 times a day on average. And so that is going to have a huge amount of impact on your body. Managing stress, you guys, we are so bad at it. Like, we are so bad at it. And when I say we, I include myself. It's really hard. And him, he's even worse. It's just so bad.
I have no stress in my life.
It's like
Zero.
It's so bad. So, but I mean, if you take a really stressed out body and then you add something autoimmune on top of it, and then you try to exercise, like, it does make sense how your body's, whatever form of autoimmune you have, it's going to flare. Okay. So adding an extra stress, which exercise is, even though we think of it as a good thing, on top of a ball of stress is never going to be a good idea. And remember, you guys, when we talk about managing stress, we're talking psychological stress. We're talking about your thought game, your head game, which that alone, a lot of us ladies are not great at. Men too, but I think women are especially bad. We're talking
Sleep,
diet, just doing too much in your day. A lot of times if you have a body like this that already is dealing with autoimmunity, they're just not going to be able to handle as much in a day as someone else who is not dealing with this. And that's not your fault. It's not in your control, but you need to, make the adjustments that you need to make. This might mean slashing big things in your life. This might mean saying no to a longstanding commitment that you've always done. This might be quitting your job. This might really mean rearranging the way you do your night so you can sleep more. Consider that, and I would get the stress managed before you try to lay any kind of really strength training on top of it, because it's just not going to go well. And then the last thing, and this is a part of the stress conversation, is sleep. I mean, these bodies need a lot of sleep, more than even the average Joe, if you have been so lucky to have been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, sickness. So I mean, I'm talking like, and if it depends on where you are in your journey, some people might have something and feel like it's almost in remission, and you might be like, 8 hours is okay for me. And that's great. If you're in a place where it is not managed, it's a problem. You're flaring all the time. Stress is high. Diet is not what it should be. Weight is not what it should be. I'm talking like 9 to 10 hours. Okay. And I know that sounds ridiculous. And yes, that's where your body heals. Okay. And that's one of the best ways to cue to your body that stress can come down, because you're allowing it to sleep so much. And this can be anywhere from a small change, like, okay, I'll just go to bed 1 hour earlier, or I won't get up so early, or whatever. It can be anywhere from that to like absolutely turning your life upside down because you are the worst sleeper ever. You know what I mean? I mean, it could be a lot of things. It might mean that you don't need to go find a hormone doc because you can't sleep. Okay. Like, a lot of different things can factor into this. If you're not making any progesterone, good luck sleeping. Not going to happen, probably. So,
and part of what you're pulling from too is studies have shown that women need a little more sleep than men.
Generally,
I think that's 9 hours, men 7 hours, or 8 hours, 10 hours, that kind of thing.
They do. And in order to be optimal. And then if you lay an autoimmune condition on top of that, especially if it's unmanaged, I would say you need even more. So please don't, when you hear this stuff, it's hard. I think a lot of women,
they think they're lazy.
Yeah. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to, that's like what a baby would do. Less stress, more sleep. But honestly, you guys, if you want to feel better, that's what you need to do. And these things need to happen. And I've seen this to be true before you start exercising. Okay. Or else exercise to Ryan's point, often can do more harm than good. Okay. So those are really big ones. And then beyond that, I would say if it was me, I would get with a trainer. I would get with a trainer who either has experience with rheumatoid arthritis in general, people with joint issues, or just one who's savvy and really understands movement, because you're going to have to get creative, even in the best case scenario.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get creative. So just a few thoughts on that side of things. If it was my client, number one, we would start with very few movements, because one of the issues with things like this, if you end up with a big flare the next day, oftentimes it's like that night or the next morning kind of thing. And it's frustrating because maybe it didn't hurt during, but it hurts later. And so you're like trying to backtrack. You're trying to like think back and be like, okay, what did it? If you did, 6 different movements, 7 different movements in a workout, and then your wrists hurt, how are you supposed to know which one caused it? Right? So common sense, but it's crazy how many trainers don't know to do this. So start with very few things, like pick 1 or 2 movements. Start with those. See how your body tolerates it. Some of these things might be an issue of the actual movement is not a good choice right now. Maybe it's too much flexion in the wrist. Maybe it's too much on the elbow, whatever. And that depends on the person too. It could also just be that the poison's in the dose. It could be, okay, I can do push-ups twice. I cannot do them 3 times. So there's just a lot of different variables that you need to start very, very simple and small. And again, you're going to feel like you're a baby. And a lot of times these people are like, I can do more. And I'm like, I know you can.
Yeah.
But we're trying to solve a puzzle here.
Yeah.
I know you could push through more. And that's part of the problem. This is what moms do. They just push through. They're like, I'll do 6 rounds. Everyone else is doing 6 rounds. And then that's why you're miserable the next day. So start really simple. Start with just a few movements so that if you do have a flare or something does hurt, you at least know what to tag it to. Okay. Another thing I would lean into hard, especially at the start. And again, I wouldn't even start with this person unless diet, stress, and sleep are already dialed in.
Okay.
That's not most of you. Okay. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm qualifying out correctly. I would incorporate a lot of things like isometrics as opposed to heavy loaded things where you're getting a ton of flexion through a bunch of different joints. And that's hard because we call those compound movements. And most of us, we're taught that those are ideal: squatting, pushing, pulling, right? Like they're functional. You get a lot of bang for your buck, but you're moving through and putting a lot of tension on a lot of joints. And so in the case of RA, things where you are just bracing or working isometrically, like a wall sit, for example, or planking, things like that, though you might have better luck with those, especially starting out. And you can also remember that you can make movements harder on the muscles without making it as hard on the joints by in terms of like weighing it down a lot. There's other things you could do. You can added banded resistance. You can play with tempo. So slowing movements down, 5 counts down, 5 counts up, things like that. That's another aspect of how you might need to get creative, because you may have a body where a super heavy loaded barbell squat may just never be an option. Like the negative may always outweigh the positive in that regard. So playing with things like tempo, adding bands in, etc. is probably a good idea. And lastly, you need to be doing, I would say, an inordinate amount of core work. Usually core work is tolerated well by people with RA, plus it's going to just generally lend to good body symmetry and overall joint support that you're going to desperately need. Okay, so those are just a few thoughts. If you're an experienced weightlifter, you might be able to take concepts like that and figure it out on your own. If you were brand new to it and every time you've tried it, it's gone badly, I would get with a trainer who can handle this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not every single trainer. And then lastly, if it was me, you guys, I would be ready to lean pretty hard into cold and heat after I lift. I mean, like, utilize those things.
Cool.
Heat, cold, heat. Always start with heat and with
Heat, cold, heat.
Yeah, heat, cold, heat. Always start with heat, always end with heat. I would lean into that, especially at the start. It's free. It's a little time consuming, but it can help a lot calm inflammation down in joints, especially the joints that are a problem for you. Okay. So anyways, I hope that's helpful, and I'll keep looking.
Do we need to, is that
No,
flat that, or is that
that
below?
doesn't. I put
Oh,
that in the wrong spot. I hope that's helpful, Ryan, and I will keep watching for someone who really knows their stuff on this, because it's a very interesting topic, this autoimmune thing, and I would love to learn more too.
All right, this gal's name, she sounds like she's from Oklahoma or something. So Janie.
No.
Janie. She's not Oklahoma. Okay, all right. Janie from Oklahoma. No, she could. You guys are always talking about how women are not simply weaker than men with pesky hormones, which is why we shouldn't work out in the same way men do. So I was wondering if you can do a podcast on women's cycles and what types of workouts are best for each phase. I hear some say that it matters, and I want to know if there's a science behind it and not just a trendy thing. Thank you.
Yeah, Jeannie, I love that you asked this question, because this concept is really big right now. If you're in the like more, especially the more like holistic, naturalistic health space, if you're like on Instagram or whatever, everybody's talking about cycle syncing and eating with your cycle, lifting with your cycle, blah, 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 blah. So it's just, yeah, it's good to sort through this. Okay. It is true. Women are not small men. I believe Stacey Sims coined that phrase and I like it. Women are not small men. And I like that. I like it for a lot of reasons. But from a standpoint of just, should we be working out differently than men? Should we be working out differently depending on where we are in our cycle? It is true we're not small men. We cycle. We have a myriad of different hormones being produced or not produced in our body at any given time over roughly a month. Men don't have that going on. Our bodies are also more sensitive to stress. Exercise is a stress. So yeah, we are different. And it's good for us to understand our physiology and just not look at it as, I don't know, a pesky thing, like you said, but just be thankful for it and work with it, right? So totally. And I really, Stacey Sims is probably the leading authority on information on this. She's done a ton of work. Actually, honestly,
Is she on her list?
She is on our list, yeah. Okay, I'll come back to that. Let's just talk through the cycle really fast, okay, so that we can kind of understand what we're talking about. Everything I'm going to say is going to be just generalities. There is tons of room for bioindividuality here, and a lot of women are different, like really, truly. So I'll just give you generals, and then you guys can go from here. So generally speaking, when you look at a regular female cycle, normally, like if you look at it in a textbook, they're going to take you to a 28-day cycle. No, I completely understand. Some women cycle at 26, some it goes to 30. All of that is fine. What they say is you just want to be ideally hitting roughly the same every time, right? You don't want to be like all over the map in terms of cycle length, but it's perfectly normal for you to not be right on 28 days. Okay. But I'll just use 28 because that's kind of the normal example and it makes for easy math, right? Because it separates into 14 and 14. So first day of your period, start your cycle. Okay. Period day 1 is the beginning of that 28-day cycle. All right. A lot of people don't even know that. So ladies, if you don't know this, please listen up. If you have not taught this to your daughters, you are behind and you need to catch up. Okay. So the first, basically, we'll divide it in half. The first phase up to day 14-ish is your follicular phase. Okay. Right in the middle, you have ovulation, roughly, centering around day 14, somewhere in there, a couple days, but it can be a little bit different for everybody, but we'll just do it for math's sake. And then we have the second half of your cycle, the luteal phase, which goes all the way till your period starts again and the whole thing starts over. Okay. So follicular, ovulation, luteal. Okay. Generally speaking, women's bodies handle hard training really well in that first half. Okay, so first day of your period, first 2 weeks leading up to ovulation. Generally speaking, okay, there are exceptions. There's some girls out there who are like day 1, day 2 of their period, they feel really bad, they have to take it easy, and then they're okay. But generally speaking, because of what hormones are being produced and not produced as much, you can tolerate stress well. You can get after it. Okay. Secondly, your testosterone production should be the highest right around ovulation. So it's right in the middle of your cycle. So if you want to PR and you're really trying to just get that next 5 to 10 pounds, around ovulation is the best time to do it. Okay. Awesome. Does that mean you can't hit a PR somewhere else? No, but it's nice to know. Okay. If you're that nerdy, then we have the second half after ovulation until you start your period again. That's the luteal phase. And I would say specifically the last week, we call that week 4 of our cycle. That would be the classic PMS, the week before your period. Okay. That's of all the weeks in your cycle where you might have a slightly less high tolerance to stress. Again, it depends on the body. You just need to listen to your body. I'm not saying all you can do is yoga. I'm just saying pay attention to stress, eat enough, sleep enough. That whole second half is where your body needs to be producing progesterone. Progesterone is supposed to peak between day 18 and 21 of your cycle. You just need to be not too stressed out, not overtraining, and eating enough so your body can produce that. You should be okay. Okay. All that said, you guys, I'll be really honest. My training changes very little based off of my cycle. Now, part of that is because I'm healthy and my cycles are not catastrophic. Okay. Like I don't have a catastrophic week 4. And if you do, ladies, if you're like that week before your period, you are like, I am a rage monster. My periods are so painful. Like I'm losing quarts of blood, like anything like that. That is not normal. And you need to find a doctor who can help you. I think that this whole PMS, PMDD, all this stuff has been normalized because it's so common. And I don't know if it's just a combination of being tons of endocrine disruptors in our environment, which we have, tons of stress, a lot of women under eating, just or just the modern American diet is so full of garbage. Like I think it's probably poor sleep. I think it's probably a combination of a lot of things, but it's gone to the point where super dysfunctional cycle symptoms have been normalized. But honestly, guys, it's not normal, and you should get to the bottom of that. You should find a doctor who really specializes in that, understands female health and female hormones, and they can help you get to the bottom of it. It should not be that bad. It should not be that severe. It should not be debilitating. There should be barely any sign of it. Okay. But again, that's with you sleeping well, managing your stress well, eating enough for the kinds of activities that you're doing. Okay. And then I'll also say, and this is to Dr. Stacy Sims' point, and I think people forget this when they quote her or see things that she says. She comes from a mega endurance world background. Like we're talking like triathletes, marathoners. Those are the kinds of, that's the sport.
Who don't cycle.
Well, yeah, that's the sport she came out of. And those are a lot of the kinds of women that she's done so much work with. And it's awesome work. But I think sometimes people will take what Dr. Stacy Sims says, like, well, you need to be eating this much carbohydrate. You need to be doing this, or you need to not be doing this. And then they try to apply it to them when you're just like walking and doing a little strength training. And it's just not the same. Okay. It's not the same. Like this sort of stuff is going to matter more and more, the more extreme of activity that you're doing. And a lot of us just start there. We're just not doing that. So while I think understanding your physiology is really important, taking it easy when you need to take it easy is important, eating enough is important. It's really healthy to just know where you are in your cycle all the time. It's important for you to educate your daughters on this. All those things are really important. If you're just doing normal exercise as a normal Gen Pop person and you're eating enough, it shouldn't really be an issue.
Yeah.
And so I think it's funny. It's like, yes, women are not small men, but also we're not that fragile. And I see people kind of erring on both sides. I see girls who are like running 10 miles a day, even week 4, and their cycle and their hormones are not doing well because of it. And it's like, okay, you just need to do a little less, or you need to eat more, one or the other, But then I also see girls who literally are like, I don't even work out when I'm on my period. And I'm like, that's an entire week. Every 4th week, you're not exercising at all. Like that's okay. Either you're being a huge baby, or you've been given really dumb information, or you're not healthy hormonally and your period is that bad, like your symptoms are that bad, and you need to go get those dealt with because that's not healthy and that's not normal. So anyway.
Hey all, if you care about raising your kids to love Jesus and staying strong in today's world, join us at the Fight Laugh Feast Conference October 16th through the 18th at Rocketown in Nashville. This year's theme is School Wars, not Star Wars, School Wars, all about equipping Christian families to disciple their kids and rebuild Christendom. There's teaching, fellowship, jumpy castles for the kids, fun for the whole family. Annie and I, hopefully our kids too, will be there and would love to see you there. Register now at fightlaughfeast.com. Hope to see you in Nashville.
All right, very good. So this question comes from Rachel. Let's say Rachel from South Carolina.
He's just sorry.
So Rachel emails us and asks if, so this is kind of a long read here. So
it was a text. It looks like this because it was a text.
Yep.
And I just kind of
to get the context on it.
Copied and pasted it all here. It's a really good question, though.
Okay. If someone, particularly a woman, wanted to go on a year-long journey to figure out her health and build habits and routines, what would be a good order? And then she goes on to say, lifestyle and sleep changes seem obvious to me first, but what comes next? Labs and fixing hormone issues, gut test and work on gut biome. And then I just listened to your podcast with Dr. Cam. That makes me wonder, should that be first? Because then you truly know which lifestyle changes to make to get the biggest bang for your buck. And if they go back and listen to the last Dr. Cam show, really, I think is what
the last two.
Yeah, the last two
are super good.
Yeah. Okay. And if you didn't have the finances to do all of them, but maybe have to space them out every 6 to 8 months, does that change the order? Does it even matter what order they are in? Or is there one that is superior to the rest that if you could only do one, which one would you do? And then also, would you space these out in order to solidify habits, workout, hiccups before moving on to the next? I assume the next.
This is such a good question. And I told her that. And it's so funny because she just randomly sent this to me like a couple days ago.
Okay.
I not knowing at all that we were compiling questions for a Q&A, and I was like, this is perfect timing, and it's a really good one. So I'll try to, there's a bunch of little mini questions in there, and I'll kind of try to give my answer, and hopefully it answers all of it. You can tell me if I'm not answering part of it. Okay. So I think, and she said this, I think lifestyle and sleep changes do need to be the number one thing. I think they're number one in importance, and number two, like everybody, it will benefit everybody no matter what. No matter what Dr. Cam says you are, no matter what.
Sleep more. That'll be.
Yes. So I'm putting sleep, managing stress, and cleaning up your diet all in.
Okay.
This is number
bucket one.
This is bucket one. And guys, this is number one for everybody. Even if you don't know your health type, even if you don't have any money, even if you have no idea, you haven't gotten blood work, even that should be number one. And number one, because all those things are so impactful, people do not, it is just constantly underestimated how important sleep is, or chronic sleep deprivation over time. Hello, moms, right? I mean, like, you have 3 kids, you have 4 kids. How many years of sleep debt do you have? Like, and all the negatives from it compounds over time. Stress, nobody cares. They're like, yeah, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like, stress, whatever. What is stress? I'm not stressed. That's what we all say. I mean, the modern American life is literally killing people. Like, it really is. At minimum, it's taking years off of your life. It's definitely hurting your quality of life. So managing sleep, and again, like I said, slash things, quit things, sit down with your spouse, be like, I can't do Netflix till midnight with you anymore. I'm breaking up with that. I did it.
Yeah.
I did it with you. I literally just started going to bed like at 9.
Yeah.
I mean, cold turkey. And he was like, what's happening? And then now,
It's like, we can't hang out.
yeah, now
After 9.
he goes to bed with me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to. I was so tired. So you can do it. It's at first, it's a huge change, and then you get used to it. It becomes your new normal. But anyways, sleep, stress, and clean up your diet, you guys. Yes, there are nuances even under that. Like, should I be a high protein person? Should I be more of a moderate protein person? Should I be pounding the plant? Should I not be? Yes. And we can get to that. But everyone will benefit from getting processed, crappy food out of their diet. Everyone. And I can't, there's so many people who come find me who are like, is there a supplement I can take? What particular kind of exercise? All these other things. But it's like, they're not sleeping. Their stress is out of control, and their diet is crap. And you guys, like you can solve so many big problems, a lot of your problems, a lot of the time, by just hitting those 3. So those are number one by a long shot. And the beauty of that is that it's mostly free. I mean, it's mostly sleeping more, quitting stuff, saying no to stuff, and then cleaning up your diet. I mean, usually it's just food swaps, or eating more meat, more produce, less processed food. It's a little more work. It's more food prep. It's more shopping, but it's, you're eating out less, or not at all if you're really unhealthy. But I mean, it's free. Anyone can do it. So that's number one. And it's kind of like, in our trainer room back in the day, we had this little, where we would bring our clients in to, do consults and stuff. There was this little framed picture that said, I'll do anything to lose weight except for exercise and eat right. And it's kind of like that. Like, people are like, I'll do anything but sleep and actually de-stress my life, or do less, and stop eating crap, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not talking to you, Rachel. I'm talking to everybody. Just stop eating crap. Most of the food that goes into your face should be just real whole food, okay? And you really can't go wrong with that. That will solve most of your problems. So when we go down the list with other things like, gut, the best way to fix your gut most of the time, I know there's extreme special cases, and that's fine, but most of the time, the best way to not have a leaky gut, to not have inflamed bowels, to have a healthy, diverse microbiome, is to eat good food and stop eating crap food. Like, that's one of the best ways to do it. Everybody's just like, well, I just want to take a probiotic, or I just want to do this. And it's just like, just stop eating crap and put good fermentable fibers in the doses that you can tolerate them into your body, and you're going to feel a lot better. Okay, so those are number one by a long shot. And I often say, too, another part of your question, that can take 8 months. That can take 6 months. And if it can be too much to be like, do all that, also get all these blood panels done, also let's start an exercise routine, also let's do this, it can be too much. So depending on kind of, how bad you are at your starting place, if you're just like, yeah, I'm not sleeping, my stress is terrible, and I eat garbage all the time, that might be all you want to do. So I actually think doing this kind of slowly over time is not a bad plan. If you're already kind of mostly there and you only have to make a couple tweaks, you may be able to add some more on. You may be able to add exercise on. You might be able to add something else on. But those should be the first things that you do. And if it's catastrophic for you, fine. That's all you should be working on, and take the time to form completely new habits. Make transform your pantry, get a new bedtime, say no to a bunch of stuff, cut toxic people out of your life, whatever it is, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's number one, and it's okay for it to take time. The second one I would say would be your blood work and possibly hormone replacement. These are, I think, very important and informative, but I don't think either of those necessarily need to come before sleep, stress, getting your diet cleaned up. And the thing is, I mean, and the particular order you do it in, you can skin a cat a bunch of different ways. Like when I work with someone, I want their blood work right away just so I know what their baseline is. But the thing is, I would tell them to clean up their diet, sleep more, and get rid of stress regardless. Exactly. So if you're trying to do things in phases, you're trying to save money, you're trying to not be overwhelmed, I would do the blood work and the hormone replacement as the second level. And the only reason I say that is because if you clean up your diet, you might not be diabetic anymore. You know what I mean?
Blood work.
Your thyroid might look better because you're actually sleeping. So there's why not try these natural biggie on the eye chart things first, before you start, getting more nitty gritty, throwing replacement, throwing, supplements and stuff like that. Although I do believe in all of that and I think there's a place for them, I would still do that thing first. So let's say that this is a person. They are like, I'm going to sleep 8 hours a night. I'm going to manage stress and I'm going to eat way cleaner. You do that for like 5 months. It takes a while. It's a lot of habits you got to change. And you're like, okay, I'm doing that. I've lost a few pounds. I'm feeling better. I don't have brain fog anymore, but I still... I have a couple symptoms over here. I'm still dealing with hair shed and I'm still a little bit tired in the afternoon. So let's go next level. Next level would definitely be blood work. And I would say, you guys know this, I think you should be getting annual blood work, period. So you really should be, whether you feel good or not, so that you have a baseline, you see trajectories. Where's my insulin going? Where's my progesterone going? Where's my thyroid going? We just need this. These are just basic data on us that we should be having. So definitely blood work. And you need to also remember that hormones are really powerful. Things like thyroid, things like progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. These are super powerful inputs to your body that if your body, for whatever reason, maybe you're in perimenopause and it's just the natural decline of them. Maybe you've had a very stressful life and your thyroid is tanked. I did that to myself. Whatever. There can get to a point where they are so low that even with improving all the other things in number one, you need to replace them. Okay. And I just really can't reiterate enough how powerful they can be when replaced effectively, appropriately, and put into a healthy body that's trying. I was just doing a phone call today with an amazing woman who is just started doing some hormone replacement, and she has been taking excellent care of her body. She has been exercising regularly, eating clean, her movement is dialed in, her lifestyle is dialed in, and because of that, these hormones are blessing her so much, okay? You take a really unhealthy body who is not looking at sleep, who is not managing stress, who is eating like crap, hormones are not going to help you very much. In fact, I've seen them do some damage. You put estrogen into a really inflamed, unhealthy body, it can do some bad stuff, okay? So they're not magic, and don't even try to take anything if you're not doing all those other things that we talked about first. And again, that's why I put those at number one, but I would say blood work and then hormone replacement, if you need it, would be a close second for all those reasons. And please, you guys, you should be getting blood work annually. You can message me if you want me to tell you the specifics that I think you should be getting, okay? And then and only then, this is number 3, I would lay down exercise and the Dr. Cam stuff, the health type stuff. Now, this is hard because I love exercise and I think everyone should be doing it. But the truth is, if you take a really unhealthy, stressed out, underslept body, exercise, besides just maybe a little bit of walking, can do more harm than good. And if we are looking at this from a weight management standpoint, which is truly, that's what most people want. They want to lose weight. I mean, that's what most people want. You get into middle age, it's just a problem. And you've got weight on you, you're weight loss resistant, you're overweight, whatever. Exercise is not, it's 90% diet, guys. Like it just is. Like I love exercise. I think everyone should be doing it for so many different reasons: cardiovascular health, insulin sensitivity, longevity, avoiding injury, stress management. There's a billion reasons to exercise. And it is synergistic with weight loss. But if you're just looking at exercise and then what you are not putting in your mouth as just which tool is more powerful and effective for weight loss, nutrition wins every single time. Okay, every single time by a long shot. And that becomes more and more true the older you get. You cannot outrun a crappy diet. Okay, so nutrition and hormones over here, exercise over here. So that's why I'm making it number 3. Plus, I really think exercise will be the most beneficial to a body that is already managing stress, eating well, sleeping, and also is hormonally balanced. Okay, like it's really, really important. Okay, and then I put the Dr. Cam stuff down here. So for those of you who are not familiar, he talks about health types, and it's very, very interesting that, due to your actual embryological development, certain organs in certain bodies develop more or less, which causes them as they grow to just have certain predispositions in terms of their digestion, in terms of their, what hormones they feel comfortable with. Is it dopamine? Is it serotonin? Is it prolactin? How big they are, how strong they are, what stresses them out, what doesn't stress them out. And it's really helpful stuff, honestly. And so if this is this kind of information that you know from the jump, I feel like that's an advantage. And that would affect number one, like, okay, sleep. Should I be sleeping in more? Or should I be staying up late? Like different health types do better going to bed early and getting up early. Other health types do better staying up a little later and sleeping in more. So knowing that is valuable. You don't have to know it, but it's valuable. Okay. So all of this stuff, I put it at number 3, but if you already know it, I would put your inputs into step 1 and 2 as much as you can. So with the blood work and the hormone replacement, there's certain bodies that are never going to get insulin resistance. They're just not. They're going to get osteoporosis. They're going to get something else, right? Like that's what their body under stress is going to look like. They're never going to get it. And knowing that would be helpful when you're looking at blood work and when you're looking at, just trying to make all these other choices. But it's not absolutely necessary, but I do think it's really, really helpful. So if you know it ahead of time, look through that lens as you're doing number 1 and number 2. But ultimately, you can get more nitty gritty. You can get more nuance here with the exercise thing. Dr. Kemp. That's the order that I would do it in. And I think there's nothing wrong, especially if you know you have a long ways to go, a lot of habits to change. Health is, a disaster. Taking 5 to 8 months for each step is perfectly fine. I think it's fine. It'll make it less overwhelming and you're probably more likely to create lasting change. Now, I will say this is the one caveat that I'll say to that order. Obviously, I'm just speaking generally. I can't, I might change the order depending on the person. So my answer is only so helpful. But if you are having clear symptoms of something, like if you are like every hypothyroid symptom in the book you have, I'm cold. I can't poop. My hair's falling out. I can't lose weight. I have brain fog. I'm so tired even when I sleep a lot. Like just bing, bing, boom. You have all of them. I wouldn't wait to go get your thyroid looked at. I go look at it right now because when that hormone, that free T3 is so low in your body, it's like, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how clean you eat. You still should, but it doesn't matter how much you try to sleep. None of this stuff matters. Like you need to get that taken care of, right? If you suspect that you have like celiac, you should go get that checked out right away. Don't be like, well, Annie said it's number 3. I'll just have to wait 8 months. Like get it. If something is really severe, go get it looked at, get the blood draw, get the whatever, and then make the changes you need to make right away. Because a lot of times when things are that severe, it's going to affect everything. So don't be shy to do that. But if you're just like, I don't really suspect anything specific, I'm just really unhealthy and I need to move in the right direction, that's the order that I would go in. Okay. And guys, this is what I do. So if you have questions or you need to go on a journey and you need more help or, you've got your own specific context with which everybody does. And you want to know, okay, for me, what should I do? I'm happy to talk to you and try to help you through that because it's a lot, it's a lot. Great question.
Go to our website, AnnieRench.com, and a lot of this information and how you can sign up with Annie and all that stuff.
Yep. Do it
right there.
Do it all the time.
Hey,
good questions, guys.
Thank you. Good job, baby. Thank you, everyone, for emailing, texting those questions in for our AMA show. We are also kind of dropping now on Tuesdays. Tuesday evenings is going to be our new show drop for the foreseeable future. It's a little better structure for other things we have going on. We're going to be coming on DirecTV and Dish at the end of September, beginning of October. So excited to see others on there and new guests on there. And other than that, you guys have a good week, and we'll see you. We're going to be off
next week. Or you're going
following week. That's right. And so we'll probably do a rerun or something like that for you guys, and then we'll be back the following week after that. So thank you so much for joining Waterbreak. It's good to be with you.
Bye, guys.